Winter is coming.
Might just be the cold.
Winter is coming.
It's cold outside.
You don't know cold.
Winter is coming for him.
It's either me or this cold, and it doesn't appear to be going anywhere.
And winter is coming.
You look cold, boys.
Tis a bit nippy.
Winter is coming.
Winter is coming.
That's cold.
Winter is coming.
Mm-hmm.
I'm cold.
It's cold and it's wet.
Winter is coming.
You're crying because you're cold?
You're a long way from home. Winter is coming.
I imagine you might be rather cold.
And winter is coming.
No, that's all right, I'm fine.
You're not. You're freezing.
And winter is here. What's happening, everybody? It's me, my guy, Russ Winter. He joins us on the first Friday of every month. And it just so happens that the first Friday is the first. I don't know if it's a first for us to have you on the first Friday when it's the first. But Russ, welcome back. Great to have you.
Hello, everybody. Robert brings us the kittens, and I bring you the castle scene.
Russ and I are doing a little yin-yang, right? I thought, hey, the world needs a little more kittens. And Russ brings this sort of monochromatic, masculine castle image.
Yeah, I kind of thought I would move away from the window curtains that I've been before in the past God knows how many stores. Ever since I've lived here in this new apartment, and move on to I just noticed this thing was on the wall. This came furnished, and one day I looked at it and I said, "What the heck? That's pretty cool."
So that when you moved there, that photo was on the wall.
Yeah, and I just hardly even noticed it.
Well, that's kind of cool, right? It's like symbolic of your castle or something.
Yeah, it's the Prague Castle over the Vidlava River.
Yeah, that's kind of inspiring. I like it.
Yeah, that's a really cool spot. It's right next to the Charles Bridge there.
How's the rest of the furnishings in the new place?
The what?
The rest of the furnishings, right? You moved into a
it's a nice place. Yeah, it's a nice place.
Yeah,
but you're kind of bogged. I'm kind of bogged down inside an awful lot. But as I mentioned before, I don't know if I told you I went down to a place called Marienbad.
Yeah, we talked about that last time. And
did I? Okay, I won't repeat it.
Yeah, you went there for the waters, right? You wanted to get in some water and do some swimming and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, and they're really classic old hotels from the pre-World War I days, with the lifestyle rich and famous back in those days. Like King Edward would spend time there, and the Emperor of Austria, the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, spent a lot of time there.
Right.
Special place.
Boy, that's really dynastic.
But what's weird? What's weird though is in the off season, like now, you can go get a very nice room for about $50.
Sounds awesome. Sounds like a great getaway. I haven't been to Europe since, I don't know, I think the last time I was there was maybe around 2016. So it's been a while since I've been there. Actually, no, even before that, man. Oh, wow. 2009, 2008. I think 2008 was the last time I was in Europe. So it's been a while. And I've always enjoyed, of course, I was born in Europe, but I've always enjoyed going out there and hanging out and just, immersing myself in somebody else's culture. I've always.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And there's a lot of variety.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of variety on this continent.
Hey, we weren't really going to talk about this. Not that we said we wouldn't talk about it, but we just had a Rothschild die.
Mm-hmm.
That's and I'm not saying that this is going to change the course of history, and all of a sudden, the white hats are going to come galloping into town. But it's a pretty interesting event. I mean, this is a high-level global player. Looks like King Charles might have about 6 months left to live. That's what I've heard.
Yeah, George Soros, I mean, he's got to be on his last leg.
Soros has got to be on his way out. We had Kissinger check out. What was it, in November? I think right around then. So the old guard, Russ, is leaving the world. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that they've passed the operations on probably some time ago.
Yeah.
So I don't know how important Rothschild is today, in old age, because they're sort of bloodlines.
Sure.
And and you don't even really know. I mean, it could be some fourth cousin running the show from the old Sabbatean Frankist group out of Frankfurt. You don't really know.
Right. That's true.
The big families, and they're inbred.
Yep, absolutely. Well, the big families are the black nobility that has been around since Venice, right? The Venetians and those people, the De Medicis, huge generational wealth. They were compiling wealth before the Rothschilds made it out of their ghetto, right? I mean, that's how long they've been around, and they clearly fly way under the radar. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that because, and also, we've got. Did you see the story about Mitch McConnell's sister-in-law? Did you hear about this?
No.
So Mitch McConnell's sister-in-law, that would be what's her name, Elaine Chao. So she's Chinese, obviously. She was right here in the Hill Country in Texas, not far from where I live, and apparently she was in a Tesla. And she backed the Tesla into either a pond or could have been the river there in Blanco, and so the sister-in-law was deeply involved in Chinese shipping and freight and maritime, and then probably about a week or so after that, McConnell says he's going to step down in November. So there's some really interesting things happening kind of at a high level with, whether people are dying or they're tapping out. You've got Jamie Dimon and you've got Bezos who are dumping a lot of their portfolio, right? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I think they're getting you got a massive bubble and they're smart. I mean, just get your money out of the game and squirrel it somewhere.
Yeah.
So, and also Zuckerberg selling a lot of the stock. They're just inflated bubble stocks. They've been ran.
Right. They're big Ponzi scheme stocks.
I mean, the ultimate goal is to just be, to have these heavyweights like that, if you can call them that, to have an enormous wealth stashed away for when they pull the plug on everything. And then they can really dominate. I mean, all the wealth is kind of at the very top anyway.
Yeah.
So the idea is to just create a feudal state out of everybody and get them heavily in debt so they don't have anything to their name and just, rape and pillage and loot everything. Kind of like the Gaza operation.
Absolutely. The Gaza operation on a financial level, the Gaza is definitely at a street level, right? It's like
we could probably talk a little bit about Gaza again, and then go into Ukraine rather than spend the whole show on Gaza because we've hit that a lot.
Yep.
But the thing that kind of stood out to me lately is this flour massacre. It's called the flour massacre.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look over there in the DM column, I've got a comment on it, and let's take a look at the footage of what happened, and take a look at the story that the narrative that the Israelis are putting out on this stuff. So they're bringing in humanitarian aid. They've been under a lot of pressure to get the humanitarian aid in. So I'm not exactly sure how they got the aid in. I mean, you would think that they said they kind of had like independent contractors do it.
Right.
It might maybe make sense, but why not have like the Egyptians or the Jordanians do it, right? It just seems kind of like a sketchy situation.
Yep.
So they go on there, and it's 4:00 in the morning, I believe is the time, and there's a huge crowd there to pick up food, primarily flour.
Right.
And all of a sudden, shots ring out. It's all on video.
Mm-hmm.
And like 104 Palestinians were killed. Big bloodbath again. 700 wounded. Another one of those deals. And so the Israelis are just saying, well, all the deaths were caused by "quote unquote" a stampede. I mean, that I can't believe where they're coming from. Where are you coming up with that?
Yeah. So let me see if we have this here. I've got here it is right here.
There's an overhead shot. So you can see the overhead shot, what happened. And this is what I see. They can look for themselves.
Is this the Yigal Aaron's post?
Yeah, I think so. Let me see. Let me see what I've got here.
The looting.
Yigal, yeah. No. That's not it. Where the hell is it? Damn it.
Because I saw you mentioned it in the DM feed, but I didn't see a video for it. You have a post here, and it says the video shows trucks barely moving.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's it. And then you can see the video right above that.
Let me.
And this is our friend Intel, the Israeli Intel people that I kind of follow to follow their narrative.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go through your feed.
Called Ost Int 613. So all you got to do is hit that Winter Watch at the bottom. It'll come up above it.
All right. Okay, so here we go. Here's the Winter Watch, and that takes us into the wheels are coming off the greater aggressor. There we go.
Well, let's see. Here's where you need to go.
Okay.
I said we can cover flower massacre. See my material above.
Yeah, I see that.
Right, and then it wasn't up there, so I put it in right below that. That's what you want to click. Yep. The video shows the trucks barely moving. There are no fences present that might cause crushing. And I said, per usual, the IDF is gaslighting the sheeple. That one.
So just a quick FYI, I'm gonna click on this, and this is what I have on there. This is your post right here, but there's no video there.
Right. If you click on that tweet.
There we go. Just above it. All right, there it is. Thanks.
So try to blow it up a little bit, so we can see maybe.
Let's see this. Give us the play-by-play here. What the hell is going on?
Well, you got your Israeli drones flying over, surveilling everything, and you can see a crowd because they got a truck there. Yeah, I'm sure they're crushing. They're moving up on the truck, grabbing supplies. They're starving. Yeah. What do you expect?
Yep.
Of course they're going to get in there. They're not looting anything. They're probably just grabbing what they need.
Right.
They're always building this thing up like these Palestinians are just awful people who do nothing but loot, and it's like inversion. I've never seen so much inversion in my life. You starve people, they show up 4 o'clock in the morning, they get some flour, and then you start mowing them down. I mean, come on. And then read the narrative that this asshole puts up on this thing.
I want to see this for a little. Yeah. You know what this reminds me of, and I can totally see how detached and removed these aggressors are. This reminds me of ants. They look like ants.
I know. Yeah.
Right. And at that perspective, right, it just makes it so much easier for somebody to flick a switch or press a button and just exterminate the infestation. I mean, this is sort of reminds me of.
Now you can kind of see people running. They're kind of people running for cover, obviously. And the trucks are starting to move. Well, the trucks aren't moving that fast. They're moving slowly, and the people are moving away. So you don't.
Are these?
You're not
So are these?
Going to kill 104 people in a crush with this. Come on.
Are these explosions over here with the black? Looks like black powder.
I'm not sure. I think that they didn't. I don't think they used bombs on them. They used machine guns. They machine gunned them.
You know, I tell you, and I said this on the Twitter feed. Let me just play this again a little bit. Let's watch this one more time. Not only will you not see this on mainstream media, you won't even see this on most alternative media.
No, I know.
So if you're watching this, if you're witnessing this, you're somewhere probably in about the half percentile.
Well, you won't even get it from me because nobody could even find me. You know, I was complaining about that in my show with Giuseppe. You know, what little impressions I get on Twitter. I'm putting it up there, but nobody sees it. Nobody sees it. I'm alert to it, and this comes from Israeli sources. I'm always going with Israeli sources and going with their narrative. You notice that?
Yeah, no, it's bulletproof in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's like shooting fish in a barrel, really.
Yeah. Ah, these poor people.
Yeah, they're scattering now. See the truck moving, but nobody's being stampeded.
No.
That's not what happened here.
Have you seen Ehud Olmert come out against Netanyahu? Have you been following this?
Yeah, they've never really gotten along too well. They've been they're kind of political opponents.
Yep.
But read the comments above this. If you can go maybe squeeze the thing down and read what this this intel guy says. Open source intel. That's the narrative. Read that.
Okay, according to an initial IDF investigation into the crowd crush in northern Gaza, the majority of casualties resulted from trampling and being struck by aid trucks. The incident unfolded around 4 a.m. when approximately 30 trucks loaded with humanitarian aid arrived at the Gaza City coast to deliver food to Palestinians in the Ramal neighborhood. Following the passage of the trucks through an IDF checkpoint in central Gaza, thousands of Palestinians rushed towards them, leading to a stampede, resulting in injuries and fatalities, including some individuals being run over by the trucks, according to the investigation. Well, why were the trucks running people over?
They weren't. You could see it on the footage. They're moving slowly.
The initial
probe I don't really know why. I don't know if the drivers kind of panicked. It could be. The drivers could kind of panic, but they're not going anywhere. They're not going to be able to run anybody over. They're not going that fast. And then, meanwhile, there's clear video of shots ringing out. Machine gun fire, and then the hospitals. Of course, they label all Hamas-controlled hospitals. It's like Hamas controls all of Gaza. Every word that comes out of Gaza, they're saying they're dealing with gunshot wounds. So this is just another atrocity. But what gets me is the narrative. And then this is actually worth looking at too, because I had a little under the radar exchange with this lady about what had happened. See if I can get that out. Okay, you see that, my comment?
Yeah.
And click on this lady's response and listen to what they say. Just listen to what comes out of their mouth. Yeah, that one. So she looks like he's like a pro-Israeli evangelical type. So
Israel risked their Rafah operation to kill or injure.
What kind of a statement is that? Risk the Rafah operation? What does that have to do with anything? It's just the logic, the thinking. Why would this jeopardize the Rafah operation? If anything, it would just terrorize people even more. It's just more terror.
Well, the last sentence is ridiculous. If Israel had deliberately wanted to kill anyone, they would have bombed a lot. Well, that's what they've been doing.
Right, but they didn't bomb them. They mowed them down with machine guns. I just kind of answer, they murder Palestinians all kinds of ways. They have multiple methods. So it's just stupid. It's like, what are you thinking, lady? Oh, they would have bombed them if they really wanted to kill them?
Right.
What are you talking about? Oh, it's going to jeopardize the Rafah operation? And then she says, I can't read the second one. Oh, the looting is obvious. Okay, well, maybe there is some looting going on there. So what?
And she comes back with rubbish. Rubbish. That's somebody that's English. They would use the word rubbish. Americans don't usually use the word rubbish. I'm not saying that she's English, but
just a pro-Israeli, pro-Zionist.
You know what I think is going on here? I think what we're witnessing is a massive sort of operation of transference. What I mean by that is that, here in the U.S., clearly we've got major domestic issues, right? Major unrest. We have a culture that's been saturated by social Marxism, wokeism, right? And all of it started around the summer of Floyd, and there's nothing anybody can really do about it. There's been and in fact, what's happened, we've gone through a defund the police operation, this whole idea of de-escalation. So what people do is they transfer their sense of frustration and resentment over to Israel and Gaza because because the Israelis can do whatever the fuck they want. And on a psychological level,
you're supporting the powerful, the winning team.
They're transferring what their political and social impotence in this country, and they're transferring it to Israel, and they're cheering them on because somehow, somewhere, somebody in the world is taking care of the undesirables, right? That's what's happening here. And it's just this is something that Edward Bernays would work up.
Yep.
It's a deep psychological operation.
Yeah. So let's see on Gaza. Let's see what else we got. What was I got this. Wheels are coming off the greater Israeli aggressors. Yeah. The U.S. is very isolated. They're it's just killing the U.S. in terms of their. The U.S. take years to get out of this.
This is your article, right, from your site.
Yeah. China showed up at the ICJ and declared Israel an apartheid aggressor and colonizer, and basically said it's the right of any peoples to engage in armed struggle if they're illegally occupied. That's what China said. Even armed resistance.
Well, that's a total flip. Do you think in some ways that's kind of a putting the bait on the hook for the Americans to get involved here?
You mean getting the bipolar geopolitics going?
That's right. Yeah.
Right. But these countries have to stand up to the plate. I think they got the United States on the run. I think the United States has been greatly harmed by all this. I've said that over and over again, and a lot of people agree with me. But then you got all the people making excuses and just hallucinating and saying, well, it's going to mess up the Rafah offensive, or why didn't they drop bombs on them? Why did they shoot him? What? What difference does it make how they kill them?
So it looks like you have, what do you have, your video? Is this a video? Oh, it's a quote.
Yeah, let's just watch. Israel's economy cratered almost 19% in the fourth quarter. And apparently almost an estimated 1 million people left the country. And if that's not losing, I don't know what is. That's losing.
So here's the video where China is coming out in support of this is a very interesting pivot on China's part. Let's hear this.
Yeah, it's short.
People fight against Israeli oppression and their struggle for completing establishment of an independent state on the occupied territory are essentially just actions for restoring the legitimate rights. Numerous other resolutions recognize legitimacy of struggling by all available means, including armed struggle by peoples under colonial domination or foreign occupation. For instance, the UNGA Resolution 3070 of 1973, I quote, reaffirms the legitimacy of the people's struggle for liberation from colonial and foreign domination and alien subjugation by all available means, including armed struggle, end of quote.
Well, that's coming right out of the Maoist playbook, right? I mean, this is
it is. Yeah, it's liberation.
It's
Liberation theology, no question. But there's nothing wrong with it. You know, you can resist.
I mean, in this instance, I think they're right over the target. Pardon the
it is liberation theology, because liberation theology came out of a lot of this resistance against foreign domination and colonialism and all that kind of stuff.
We were just talking about Nixon a little bit before we hit go, and Nixon had a real fondness for the Chinese people, and when he went there, it wasn't just, hey, let's start making deals with Deng Xiaoping. He felt that the spirit of the Chinese people themselves, apart from the government, was very similar in some ways to the American spirit, and a group of hardworking people, family oriented, right? Nixon connected with them in a very interesting kind of way. So I'm not sure if that plays into what this guy is bringing to the table, but clearly they're making a bit of a pivot here, and it's a pretty big pivot. What he's
essentially saying is, Israel, you're an imperialist entity, and you can fully expect resistance, and he's right.
Right, and then by proxy, he's saying that the United States is the same thing as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm afraid he's right.
He is right.
I don't think there's really any arguing against it. And so try to label everybody in Gaza as a terrorist is really a stretch. He's saying that none of them are terrorists. All of them have every right to resist. It's a resistance movement. So that's how China weighs in on it. A guy from Norway kind of was saying the same thing.
Yeah.
So these countries are just one by one washing their hands of it, going on the record, depending on how this all evolves. So, okay, so I've got
this is at the train station in The Hague.
It's some kind of interesting Overton window protest where they come on the loudspeakers and say, we regret to tell you that Netherlands is on the wrong side of history and its taxes contribute to the war. It's time to act and not leave what'd you say? Not leave Gaza alone. It's a good little protest operation. Take control in the train station with a loudspeaker. Can you turn it up?
Yeah, it's playing right now. It's genius.
I can't hear it. Might be on mute.
No, I'm definitely hearing it.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, it's way up. Yeah. So essentially what they're doing here is it's agitprop, right? They're taking over the train station. They've got these pamphlets, and somebody somehow commandeered the PA.
Yeah.
This is genius.
Yeah, dear passengers, we regret to tell you. Pretty good.
This is total genius. All right, what else you got for us, Russ?
Let's go down to the as I mentioned, their economy. Let's take a look at, here's some more the latest IDF behavior. Here's a guy in a window smoking a bomb. He's getting high again. These guys are always getting high. He's hitting a bong. You see that one?
Let's see.
Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens to this guy. See his drug paraphernalia all lined up there on the windowsill. He's in Gaza in combat.
Okay, I got to find it here.
These are your reservists that they've had to send home. They've shipped these guys back home.
Let's see, where are we? Is that in the article?
Yeah, just down the page.
Okay, let me go back to the article.
It says a late IDF trooper targeted in a window smoking a bong.
Oh, this guy right here. All right, let's check this out. Let me get the let me do this. Let me do the share.
So they're sending these guys home. They're ridiculous.
All right.
We had real discipline problems. I mean, they've been in Gaza for 5 months. I would imagine it'd be like Vietnam. It really would.
Well,
be tough.
that's the first thing that came to my mind because that's what guys did in Vietnam. They got high.
Yeah, it would be tough duty doing this genocide stuff.
Uh-oh. That didn't end well.
No. They send these guys home, which they have. They've shipped them back home.
That was the last bong hit he ever took. Wow.
And I don't know. I kind of covered a lot of this with Giuseppe. So let's go on to let's just go on to
I want to see what Pelosi has to say. Let's see what this ding.
She's distancing herself from Netanyahu, but she's trying to make it sound like it's just the Netanyahu, his little posse, not Israel as a whole.
All right, let me hear this.
The White House has escalated its rhetoric pretty sharply last week. Mr. Biden said Israel's conduct of the war was over the top. There are a lot of innocent people who are starving. He said there are a lot of innocent people who are in trouble and dying, and it's got to stop. Can Mr. Biden make it stop?
Well, we have I don't want to call him Mr. because I've lost so much respect for him, Netanyahu there, who seems to be...
You've lost respect for him?
Long time ago. But nonetheless, he seems to be calling the shots, and he and his very extreme right wing, I wouldn't even say conservative, because that's a legitimate place to be in the world of thinking on the spectrum, but right wing.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
She said that being conservative is a legitimate place to be.
But not Netanyahu. He's a radical extremist running the country.
Well, the left in this country, especially the old left, like Pelosi, they're really in a rock and hard spot.
They are,
because they have to appease their voting bloc, which is pretty much pro-Palestinian,
yep.
right? But on the other hand, they're taking pro-Israel money from AIPAC and all these other, lobbying sources, and they've helped them, get elected and stay elected. So they're walking down the, sort of the center line.
Yeah, I think what they're trying to do, it seems like what she's trying to do is distance herself from the so-called extremists that are running the show. And she says they're running the show. She admits it in Israel.
Yeah.
And then later in another interview, which we don't have to listen to, she mentions that she likes Herzog and considers Herzog as a moderate. So she has a good personal relationship with Herzog, but Herzog's almost as bad as all the rest. He's no moderate. They're all extremists.
Right. When have you ever seen a dove?
Yeah. Where are they going to dig up? Where are they going to dig up somebody that's going to eradicate them from this mess they're in, this genocide?
Yeah.
That the U.S. can kind of rein the country in. They can't. So the only thing they can do is just flail around. That's what she's doing, flailing around.
She's flailing around just like their policy and the operation is flailing around.
Yep.
All right. What else you got in this article? Anything else? What's going on with her? Who is this? Who is this?
Oh, you don't have to watch that. It's not that compelling.
Okay. All right. We got the bong hit. And then so this is supposed to look like a menorah. Is that what he's referring to?
Yeah, it's just, here we have, Gaza's never looked more beautiful. Some, Israeli puts that mind-boggling depravity where they go in there and set up some kind of a menorah around some ruin and then take photo shots of it. It's pretty sick behavior. What's interesting is that the Nazis, they were really disciplined on a lot of this stuff. They would do their operations and create a lot of havoc and destructions, but they didn't do this grave dancing like the Israelis did. In fact, they were under orders from Himmler. No stealing, no loot, no theft.
Right.
Just kill them and move down the road. That was pretty much how the Nazis did it. These guys kill them and then do grave dancing.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. They're dapping up. So what are they occupying the land and now they're already plowing into the land? Is that what's happening?
Yeah. Yeah. They're just southern farmers in Israel crossing the Gaza fence to begin plowing fields and prodding new crops. So they're already, moving into this more secured areas. And then Owen Benjamin put up this article on the Los Angeles Times from 1997. He says, you want to read that? The friar in Israel's eyes, the shopper who waits in line to pay retail.
Let's see. The great Owen Benjamin. So many Americans don't understand this. When I say the grabblers are cheap and deceptive and trick people, it isn't an insult to them. They like that and think you're weak if you believe them. It's like a ghetto chick. She has a fat ass. They don't see that as an insult. He's got an amazing capacity to offend as many people as he can.
Yeah, I know.
300
zingers. Yeah, with zingers. They're really good.
Yeah,
a friar is anybody who cedes ground, plays completely by the rules, or allows someone to get the better of him. The ideal Israeli is clever and tough, and a friar is the opposite, a pushover in a way that Israelis often perceive Americans to be. I mean, a good example of it is Seinfeld. Seinfeld was all about this stuff. Yeah. Funny. It was funny. They're just spent all these shows, doing gamesmanship on and being game themselves.
Yep.
One thing I did appreciate about Seinfeld as comedy is that these Jews could dish it out, but they could take it. That at least on that particular sitcom. Now they dish it out and they can't take it. And so an example is this meme I have here, a Shlomo the friar rolling into Gaza after the ethnic cleansing. Put that up there.
Yeah, it's right there. That's Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yeah. Now, Sacha Baron Cohen can really dish it out. He can really make fun of people. But could Sacha Baron Cohen handle what I just said and how I used him in a meme? I doubt it. They have no ability to lighten up when it comes to them.
Larry David in Curb Your Enthusiasm took a lot of shots at his fellow Jews, and that's in that. I mean, he took shots at Christians too. Don't get me wrong, but he didn't spare. Like there was that one episode where there was this great chicken place, and they happened to be Palestinian, and I think they were opening this place in Westwood. And all of his Jewish pals in Westwood went and protested this Palestinian chicken place opening up, and he went over to their side. Did you see that episode?
Yeah, I think I did. Yeah.
I thought that was incredibly funny.
They're good comedy writers.
I think I'm not. He'll say things and do things that will get under my skin.
But Sacha Baron Cohen is all about dishing it out, not taking it.
Well, David seems to be an even-handed misanthrope, right? like he can throw it here and throw it there and kind of laugh at times, even at his own Jewishness in a lot of ways.
Oh, and the one that was kind of neat on him is he goes down, he has his genealogy done. I actually have an article on this, and he shows up, the black guy that does the deep genealogy.
Right.
And it turned out that one of his ancestors, great-great-grandfather, that he didn't know anything about, it's sort of like a big mystery in his family.
Yep.
Was a Confederate officer in Louisiana.
Larry David?
Yeah, and a big slave owner. Yeah, his great-great-grandfather.
I love that shit.
Larry David he took it pretty well. I mean, he was kind of like, wow, that's interesting. Now I know nobody in the family talked about this shit.
We're gonna skip the baseball bat. What else you got here?
Okay, let's go to the Ukraine then.
I think we're pretty good here. Okay. My favorite was when Angela Davis found out that one of her ancestors was a slave owner. I thought to myself,
"Oh, that's pretty common." I think. Well, not really. It's not really common. I've done my genealogy pretty deep.
We talked about this.
And my dad's family, they were poor. They were just poor white trash. I mean, I don't like.
Yeah, I kind of got this on my father's side. I kind of got the same thing in his background. Same sort of nothing special, right?
Yeah, they were not slave owners, because if you look at the census and the people from the South, which these people were from, it lists their slaves if they had any. And they didn't have any slaves. They all fought for the Confederacy. They were all big Confederate veterans.
Yep.
Yeah. I've got their war records and everything else. One of them was in the, fought against Sherman's march in Georgia. And another one by the name of Winter was like my great-great-grandfather was involved in some really amazing operation in New Mexico, where they tried to capture New Mexico and bring it into the Confederacy, and they got whooped. And then, and then they had to drag their sorry asses back to Texas, and had to be rescued by the people who came out and brought them food while they were straggling back in. Stuff like that. But they were just poor non-slave owners.
Yep.
That's typical.
I can relate to that. I can relate. On my mother's side, it's a little bit different. Her family came over just after the Mayflower and settled in Long Island, and were pretty big landowners in Long Island. And sort of the original patriarch, his sons fought in the Revolutionary War.
Were they Dutch?
They were Dutch, yeah. And so I've got that on that side. Like she could have been, bless her soul, DAR. But on my father's side, I mean, Louisiana, Arkansas, do the math, right?
Right.
Yeah. Let's talk about Ukraine. And there's a lot of
battles in Ukraine revealed up close and personal is the core article.
Before I jump there, there's a lot of really disturbing news coming out around what happens if Ukraine loses the war. Right? The news is that NATO and even people like Chuck Schumer are basically saying, if Ukraine loses the war, we're going after Russia. Right? That's what they're talking about. I think Sweden's about to enter NATO, and that's kind of on the Russian border. It's very close to Russia. So they're not letting. Oh, there's one other thing before we make this segue. Did you see this guy Bushnell who set himself on fire and self-immolated?
Yeah, I've got kind of mixed feelings about what that was all about. I don't really know, but go ahead. What do you think?
Somebody had told me, I think it might have been Joan, that, and again, you have to take this with a grain of salt, because we live in a world where there's so many, innuendos and rumors and, false threads, that he knew that there were Americans on the ground fighting in Gaza, and that he was set to go to Guantanamo. And that's one of the reasons, not the main reason, but one of the reasons why he self-immolated. Now, I don't know if that's true, but what do you think about that rumor? Do you think it's out of the question that we might actually have troops on the ground in Gaza?
Probably. I mean, I'm going to show you some stuff on Ukraine that clearly demonstrates this. There's some war footage that we're going to look at where they actually evacuate 3 wounded American guys at the Battle of Bakhmut.
Okay, so let's go there.
It's right there on film. For anybody denying that there's Americans, I don't know if they're mercenaries or they're contractors or who they are, but they're described as Americans in the fight with this Ukrainian Azov division or brigade. We'll watch it. But I don't want to do a spoiler alert yet.
Okay. Here we go. Ready?
Yeah. Okay. So let's start out looking at some of the background of the whole. What did I do with the? Okay.
Battles in Ukraine revealed up close and personal.
Right. So I came across some. So this is just looking at what the war looks like. So once again, it's not for delicate flowers. So if you don't, this is pretty grim, and the footage is amazing. It's some of the most amazing war footage I've ever seen because it's just really clear, real-time footage,
right,
of the war. And it's the Ukrainian 3rd Separate Assault Brigade, Azov. So they're sort of some of the better Ukrainian troops. And they put up their field combat footage throughout the war. And I've been kind of picking through it, and there's English captions. And I've kind of picked out some of the more interesting stuff. But if you look at the map, before we get into it, if you look at the map of Ukraine, it's almost like 2 separate countries.
Yeah, it's separated by that river that cuts right through it, like right there. Right.
Yeah, kind of like southeastern Ukraine down to the Black Sea, back to the Russian border, the Donbass area, is Russian speaking and Russian ethnic and Russian politics, pro-Russian politics. So if you look at the election results in those bottom 2 maps, the blue area, that's a Russian candidate.
Interesting.
Viktor Yanukovych was a Russian guy. So that kind of tells you how the country probably should be divided up, and that's probably where this is heading.
Right.
Because Russia has had to engage in actual combat and war, they're looking for these spoils to take back these territories, restore the at minimum they should have plebiscites and let people choose, bring in international observers and monitors and have elections in these contested areas. And, people act like boundaries aren't redrawn. The United States has had a lot of redrawn boundaries in its history.
Oh, I mean, just look at Europe since the 1900s.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So just because Nikita Khrushchev gave this particular territory to Ukraine, now my Ukrainian friends argue with me about this. And I was trying to get my friend Ivana to come on our show and engage us with this, but I think she's too concerned about her English not being up to the task. She would argue with me, well, these eastern areas are a lot of Ukrainians living there, including her, because she came from Kharkov.
Yeah. And
so it's not an easy resolution. There are a lot of Ukrainians, but mostly they're minorities. But so it's a tough issue. I don't know how it gets resolved, but probably they're going to have to split the country up.
Well, I'll tell you, the most contested area for all of it is going to be right here, right in there. When you have access to ports and water,
the Black Sea area, like Odessa and down there. Okay, yeah.
And that's it. And by the way, that area is going to be open 365, right? Some of these ports, a lot of times the water gets icy. They've got chunks of icebergs, not always easy to access during the wintertime. This is pure gold right here, absolute gold. So this is going to be the most contested area.
Yeah, the Ukrainians have lost, and even the Ukrainian government is admitting that their loss is dead. KIA are 440,000 fighting this war against the Russians. And it's war of attrition. And as you will see in the footage that we get into, it's trench warfare. So the Russians are dug in kind of in defensive positions. And then there's the first film we'll look at is an offensive that the Ukrainian Azov divisions, and they're going in there fighting over dugouts and trenches. It's amazing warfare, very vivid. It's not like the Battle of Kursk or something like that where you have big tank maneuvers. It's dug in warfare, and they let the Ukrainians come in and get through, and then they spot them with their surveillance because they got overhead satellite surveillance that's superior, and then just rain artillery on them. And that's where all the casualties are coming from. So they're fighting. The Ukrainians aren't really fighting a smart war.
No, they haven't been. They haven't been. In fact, there were a couple of battles where they threw all their resources at capturing this one area. I forget which one it was. And
Bakhmut. And what they really should have done was they should have retreated and retrenched. And they took a lot of losses. And eventually, I think they had to give part of that back up again, if I'm not mistaken. So we should probably just go ahead and go on the combat footage. But at some point, I want to kind of point out that the United States has a bunch of biolabs in Ukraine, like about a dozen of them. What the heck? Oh, and then I have a clip there. We should probably watch this.
So do you want to watch the footage here?
First, let's just kind of give the audience a little bit more idea, besides the two different country concept, of why Russia is acting the way they are. There's two elements. There's NATO,
right?
That's a no-go zone for the Russians. They've warned it over and over again, and they've been ignored. Yeah. And then there's a lot of weapons going in there, including biolabs. So I think we could probably just touch on the biolab point. You see the U.S. biolabs in Ukraine?
That's in the DM, right?
Right.
Yeah. All right. Let me go back to the DM.
And then right below that, by the same poster, Karen 244A 8.
Mm-hmm.
Let's listen to what Victoria Nuland says about the bioweapons.
So here we go. This is the post that.
Now, if you were Russians, would you want to have a bunch of biolabs up on your border?
Oh, hell no.
What are they even doing there?
They're creating the next plague. This has been going on for a while, this biolab stuff. That was a big part of sort of the first wave of the war, where they were discovering this stuff. So
Yep. I guess I wasn't really alert to it. Like most Americans, they have no idea what this fight is all about. But then the thing that really blows my mind, I mean, maybe I just thought it wasn't real in my own mind.
Right. Because there's a lot of conjecture, and there's a lot of, kind of rabbit holes that like to send people down. It sounds crazy and conspiratorial, but this one is real. Right.
Yeah. Well, listen, hit that thing where I say, hit that one clip where we listen to Victoria Nuland. Let's just listen to her, what she has to say, and then put this one to rest.
Let's see. Where is she?
Right below the map.
Oh, this is on another.
It's on the DM.
Okay.
I got it in one of my articles, but it's in the DM. I've set it up for you.
Okay.
See it?
Yeah, give me a sec. Is this the one with Karen?
Right. Is Karen replying to Bill Gates as a psycho?
All right, hold on.
So if you click that, it'll bring you to Victoria Nuland making a statement on, I think it's before Congress. Mind-blowing.
All right, so let me see if I have it right here, Russ. Is that what we're looking at here? The Biolabs?
Yes, sometimes on these Twitters, the videos are kind of embedded after you click them. They don't always show up on them, right?
Well, this one is just the graphic, and it does show how many of these biolabs are. And there's one right there on the border, very, very close.
So right below that, the next tweet is Victoria Nuland talking about this.
All right. Let's see.
It's in the DM.
Yep. Okay. Let's see, where are we? We got CIA built 12 secret spy bases. We've got Karen 2448K, which I played. Let's see. Bill Gates is a psycho.
Yeah, right there. Click on that.
All right. Here we go. Let me make sure we get the volume up here. There she is.
Listen to this. Everybody pay attention. You got it up? It's not on the screen.
Hold on. It's back. She talked about this a while ago, didn't she? This is
I must have missed it because it's quite an admission.
Well, and the way that she's framing
but nobody heard it, Robert. It didn't come up on the screen.
I'm coming back. The way that she's framing this, though, is like it's the Russians' fault.
It's the Russians' fault. It's the Russians' fault that they're concerned about our biolabs in Ukraine.
Right. So we better take care of this.
It's just the chutzpah is unbelievable.
It's incredible. Here we go.
Ukraine has biological research facilities.
Okay, I got to stop there. Biological research facilities. It sounds very wholesome, doesn't it?
Well, the only thing I would say, Victoria, if they're just biolab research facilities, why are you so worried about the Russians finding them? Yeah. Why would you even care if it's harmless?
They're just there curing cancer. That's all they're doing.
Yeah. So if the Russians find that, so what?
Yeah.
Obviously that's not it. You're trying to hide something, Victoria.
All right, here we go. The Honorable Victoria Nuland.
In fact, we are now quite concerned Russian forces may be seeking to gain control of. So we are working with the Ukrainians on how they can prevent any of those research materials from falling into the hands of Russian forces.
Research materials.
Ukraine has biological research facilities, which, in fact, we are now quite concerned Russian forces may be seeking to gain control of. So we are working with the Ukrainians on how they can prevent any of those research materials from falling into the hands of Russian forces.
I mean, she's admitting
I know
that what they're cooking up there is bad medicine.
Yep. And just, all you Americans out there, including me, ask yourself how we would react if Russia or some NATO type organization under the Russian control put a bunch of biolabs in Mexico. Well, they kind of have. They have the cartel down there. I mean, the Russians didn't do it. The Russians didn't do it. We got to have a whole show on who did it.
Right.
But it's just like, if you're Russian and these weaponized biolabs are being stored in Ukraine and they're bringing Ukraine into the NATO, you might reach a point where you're saying, Vladimir, go for it.
Yeah.
Pull the trigger. We got to stop this.
So if you step back and look at Ukraine and just kind of add up what they've had going on there, clearly they've got these labs that are creating bioweapons, right? And doing it in a place outside of the US, maybe outside of the UK, whatever. So they've got these bioweapons labs. They also apparently are very good at money laundering.
Yeah.
It's a money laundering operation.
And sending weapons in there and distributing them all over the world. I mean, there's a deal where like 70%, they can't even account for 70% of the weapons that have been sent in to equip these poor Ukrainian soldiers. And I really feel for these guys.
The other thing, this has been going on for a while, is that Ukraine has been one of those areas for trafficking and the sex trade and people going missing, right? So you just add it all up. You got biolabs, you got money laundering, you've got trafficking, you've got a group of actual Nazis kind of involved in the military operation. And then you got a guy who is supposedly running the whole thing, who's out of his brain on coke half the time.
Yeah.
And that there is your picture of Ukraine.
I mean, there's a natural Ukrainian nationalism that I understand. The Western Ukraine is a European country.
Yeah.
Does not want to be under the Russian thumb or dominated by Russia. So in that respect, I'm very sympathetic to the Ukrainians, but it's two different countries. Now, somebody in comments comes on and argues with me, and I don't think it's a long argument. He's Ukrainian, but I don't think the argument's very good. He's just kind of relying on mythology and pointing the finger at Putin being a liar. I mean, the whole thing is Putin's a liar. Putin's a liar. Putin's a liar. I don't see it, but I think that Putin. The question I have about Putin: does he have a normal respect still for the Ukrainian national state that's very real, non-Russian, off to the west?
Yeah,
Kiev. It's part of Europe. Now, I think his goal is that he's going to partition the country, take the Russian areas, and maybe grab a little bit extra, including what you were talking about on the Black Sea. That's kind of spoils.
Yeah, that's the gold. That Odessa port's the gold.
But a lot of that area is not really Russian. It's very mixed. So they have some kind of mixed areas, and then make sure that they're not aligned. But I think the real Ukraine in the West could be a non-aligned country and do very, very well, trading with Russia, trading with Europe. They shouldn't be closed from Europe, and I don't think that's the goal. I think, like you say, he wants to kind of he calls it denazifying, but it's not really denazifying because the Western Ukrainians are nationalists, not Nazis. So he's using inflammatory language.
Right.
I wrote a whole article about the battles that the Ukrainians SS fought against the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
In 1944.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they put on Nazi uniforms because that's who was running the war at the time. But their intent was an independent, free national state, separate from the Soviet Union. It's always been a goal of a lot of those people.
Right.
And it has to be addressed. It has to be addressed honestly by Putin. But to turn Ukraine into like a big biolab center and trafficking and weapons and a big NATO fortress, you're just asking for it, West. That's why you got into a war. And they had this thing settled. They were down in Istanbul right when the war started, and it kind of were agreeing on terms to settle this thing. And then Boris Johnson shows up and say, no, keep fighting. We're going to give you a bunch of weapons. And here we are 2 years later, 440,000 dead Ukrainian soldiers so far. And you're going to see why when we go into this footage. It's tough combat.
You've been ramping this up. So I got to bring this comment in here. Rama Lama, I was gonna mention this, but she brought it up in comments, and I think that this is a huge factor in all this. The New World Order is draining the West in order to transfer resources to the Middle East, where they will base their operations out of. I do think that this is all about draining the West, and dare I say that Putin, while he may not be in on it at that level, he clearly
is okay with it. Yeah.
He's clearly okay with it. And he's clearly slow playing this thing so that that what she's bringing up can continue to happen. Because if they wanted to, if the Russians wanted to, they could have ended this war hardcore maybe a year ago. Right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, because they kept getting arms into the hands of the Ukrainian army. The Ukrainian army was very built up initially. They took a lot of losses at Bakhmut and some of these big campaigns last summer, last spring, really bled the Ukraine dry. And now they're picking up old men. We had a clip on that. Old men, women.
Yep.
I think a lot of the guys that we're going to see in these films are dead. And they're having a big battle right now at a town sort of in, they've kind of dug in. You can see the map. You can see the map in my article where they've dug in. But yeah, this is very interesting about the laundering of money and weapons to other factors.
Maria, who comes to us from France and has some regional context, says it's all part of the ongoing Gladio operation, which that's a really interesting comment because Gladio happened post-World War II, right? And it was the de-armification of the European countries through these events that would take place. And what she's basically saying is it never went away, right? That it's still kind of an ongoing operation, which I think is kind of, what are your thoughts about that, Russ?
Well, of course, my larger theory is that both the United States and the European countries are captured by some bad elements.
Yeah.
Warmongers, the war business, people that want to drag these countries down in numerous ways, mass migration, stupid wars, backing stupid people like Israel, backing Zelensky. Why would you have a guy like that installed?
Not only that, but think of all of the PR and the marketing that has gone into creating this guy into some kind of fucking heroic figure.
Yeah, right? He's supposed to be like a Winston Churchill.
And they'll send Ben Stiller over there, or they'll send Sean Penn or whoever, right, to give him some cred, and they'll come kiss his feet, and oh yeah, he's this incredible world leader, and they bring him to DC. I mean, the amount of effort that they've gone into to create this guy's persona it's a fucking Hollywood production. That's what it is. He's the great dictator. All right, let's get into the hot sauce.
All right, we'll watch some more footage. We always like to do a little of that. So you can see, first of all, you can see the map that's the controlled area of Ukraine, sort of the southeastern areas, Crimea. And
which one
right
you want
below
to?
that,
Which one you want to go to? The first
okay,
one.
the first one is let's take a look at some of the trench fighting that goes on. Go to 8 minutes and 30 seconds and play the next 4 minutes.
Okay. All right.
That
It's lower, right here.
right there, yeah.
All right, so let me see if I can stop this thing.
Pop the screen open, turn the sound
All
down.
right, everybody, if you have a bit of a weak stomach here, you may want to.
This is what combat is really like. I'm kind of amazed. The footage is like 4K, and it's amazing. This is what it's like.
Блядь, я тебе попал. На нахуй!
Can you pop the screen open?
Граната! Граната, ля!
Yeah, it's open.
They're throwing. Both sides are throwing grenades at each other from short range.
На, сука! Минус, блядь! Да! Да! Хорошо, автоматно!
Get that rifle. That's our trophy. The drone flew over and put a drop charge down on him.
Сдавайся, чертяка ебана!
Чего съебало? Не знаю, мне показали.
Ебать, его там нора пизда!
Тебя никто не убьет! Да легко слева, вылазь, блядь! Подожди, пацаны! Никто не вылазь! Давай, вылазь!
Що, братан, ти, походу, вибор свій зробив?
Блин, дуже прикольно хочу. Блин, я мы на последнем раскладе.
There's the trench. And the girl dug out.
Ми не будемо стріляти, виходить, здається.
Попробуешь кинуть гранату, сразу две!
А, ти, граната! О, сука, підарас ебаний! Мінус! Уебан, ти бачив, сука?
Пидор, ебать!
Все.
Сука!
Все. Мінус!
Ебать, спасибо тебе!
So he saved that one guy from a grenade.
Look how dirty that Kalashnikov is.
Yeah,
Right?
it's dusty.
I mean, it's like, and they can just keep firing.
Ще, ви вже здалися. Що виходь, блядь, быстріше, сука.
Here comes a prisoner. Here comes a Russian prisoner. They took.
Туда, наверх.
И прямо там!
Там є пацани, да. Нічого, давай.
Принимайте пленного!
Що, будемо копатися потихеньку, чи що?
Зайдите его, пожалуйста, зайдите.
Контролиш, да?
Инкассатор, вас передаю пацанам. Сейчас вся бригада, как на пацанов. Блин, я плаваю. Поднимайте, сильная контузия. Пацаны, не знаю, контузия. Видос, крой, пока не копай, крой.
Okay, that's good on that. So what they're doing, these are like forward positions they're taking. So the Russians will have these little dugouts and pillboxes and stuff and trenches forward, and then the Ukrainians come in on them. They're not really on waves. They're pretty careful. You know, you notice how they kind of approach their targets. It's like a squad level combat, but it's not along a whole front.
Well,
you can hear all
the you can tell that those guys have been fighting for a bit, right? Like they know
they're
what
trained.
They're doing.
Yeah. They're really, I mean, they're amazing with the weapons. They don't hit each, you know, there's not a lot of friendly fire. It's not like the IDF. These guys know what they're doing. But this is the Azov Brigade, and Ukraine doesn't really have these guys anymore. They're dead. They're part of the 440,000 dead.
Wow. It's a lot of people.
Now they're sending old men and women into combat. So
do you want to watch this other video here, the next one?
Yeah, the second one. Okay, now so if you follow the progress of the brigade, they go into this town, but then they kind of fall back and they're in their trenches. That's where we're going to pick it up in the second video at 1:45.
Okay.
And they're being shelled by the Russians. They're in a bad spot. They're getting it all on this GoPro camera. So 1:45, we'll watch it to about 5 minutes.
We're at 1:13 right now.
Yeah, you can pick it up there. It's okay. To play?
Yeah, it's playing, isn't it?
No, I'm not saying anything.
Yeah, so I had it up here. Hold on.
Yeah, sometimes you got to click down the little advertising they have all the time on YouTube. You know, the little screens they keep putting up.
Let's do this. Pardon me. I was watching. It was kind of compelling. Hold on.
Yeah, it is. Wait till you see them when they clear out of the trenches and try to evacuate. See what happens to them then.
All right, can you see it now?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, you got it.
Ох, ебать. Горячо. Сука, блядь. Ага.
До підерів. Ті, що валяються, приблизно 100 метрів. Як прийняли?
Enemy infantry on the ground, 100 meters in front.
Прийняли, плюс у мене... блядь, ГПшечка заряджена. Сука, гаряча. Якщо що, то буду оцінкувати. FPV.
Drone. FPV drone.
Да. Пожалуйста, ну... Нельзя так делать, блядь. Затыкание. Где эта хуйня?
Where's that flying dildo? This is fucking funny.
Yeah, their language is hilarious.
Пидор взорвался.
Did the dead orc? These guys are so battle hardened right now.
Yeah, an orc is a Russian. That's what they refer to Russians as. Orc. Okay, so that evac transport headed your ways. Must load in double quick. But they're still dealing with the drone.
Бля, скид, здається. Та вона зі скидом.
Коротка Сашка має під собою подарок. Вона точно наша, прийом. Що за скидом, то їбош.
Їбош. Де він, сука? Я тебе чую.
Пілоти повідомляють, що підери тікають з нашої посадки на паралельну, через залізницю.
Жулик, навали підерам!
Божим вогами туди, блядь. Тримайте оборону. Продовжуємо продивлятись флешками.
So they both sides have drones flying around and have radio contact. That's how they run these battles and positioning.
Мороз, це Чикаго. Один із мінометів тільки що було знищено.
Yes.
Але по вам працював не один. Тому будьте готові, будьте уважні. Тримайтесь, хлопці.
Красавчик.
This is better than any Hollywood movie.
Oh, I know it.
That they're
you can even see the debris, after the artillery strikes. You see all the debris coming down from the sky? You never see that in any of these movies.
And the dialogue, stay frosty. Are you kidding me?
I know. It's amazing. Okay, let's go to 850. This is the evacuation.
All right.
So they got a transport coming in to pick them up and get them out of there.
Емка!
They got artillery coming in on them. They've moved off the trenches and they're in the back, but the artillery is still raining down on them. This is where they get white. These are the situations where they get big losses.
Идут. Впереди! Блядь! Ну, блядь! Сколько вас? Давай быстрее! Давай! Залетели, блядь! Давай! Давай, бокс, давай! Давай! Погнали! Давай!
They're stuck. So this is all the equipment the United States is sending to them. Get stuck in combat.
So they stuck here? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, they can't move.
Oh shit!
Like a track has come off or something.
Can you imagine being in that thing and it's stuck?
Yeah. He says we got to get out of this. He says we got to get out of this death trap. Let's walk. Now here's what happens. What happens to the end? They get out into the field, trying to escape this situation, and here comes and all this artillery starts raining in on them. And that's exactly what's happening to the Ukrainians. They get into offensive operations. They get stopped. They get driven back. They go back into their trenches. But they've been kind of spotted,
Только свое бери, уходи! Бросай, братан! Я своих полетов!
We have a wounded in action. WIA wounded. Guy screaming.
Що у нього, братан?
Руки, ноги.
Связь, машина не їде, блядь. Машина не їде, блядь.
Тихо, Чикаго, на зв'язок.
Chicago, you got us stranded out here. Your track didn't work.
Віра на зв'язку, Борсовський 300. М-ка не їде, там щось наїбнулось. Ну, вся історія.
Yeah, what a fuck story for that transport to break down like that in that moment. Wow.
That's your U.S. equipment or European equipment that they're giving these guys. You know, they're clearing out a lot of their old inventory.
Yep. At least they're Christians. But isn't that the plan? To wipe out the Christians?
Yeah, wipe out the Slavs in general, I think, is part of the plan.
Yep.
Мороз Піро.
That's what my friends, my Ukrainian
Moroz 300?
friends think too.
Мороз 300?
That's their belief. This war is to wipe out the Slavs in general, including
Мороз
Russians.
300, листи 300. Пацани, давайте двигать. Ти перетягнув?
Він все, ну, у нього всі кінцівки, братан.
Всі кінцівки перебиті?
Так.
Знімай броню. Знімай броню, понесе. Залізеш на мене, піди понесу.
Готов? Казувати.
These guys have some honor, man.
They do. They're tough.
They really have honor. Like,
they're not panicking. They're not really panicking.
Take his shit off, put him on my back. I'll carry him out of here. I mean, this is a reality that most Americans just are completely oblivious to on so many levels.
That's close. That got him.
It's like now I'm pulling for these guys.
Of course. It's like a real war movie.
I'm telling you, this is better than Hollywood.
Все, нога, блядь, пацани. Все.
Ага.
Я все, братан. Я все.
Ні, Піро, віддуй і повзи.
Братан, не поповзу.
Повзеш. Лисий поповз. Мороз поповз, і ти поповзеш. Давай, віддуй.
А у мене перелом.
Так, я погнав. Через за тебе.
Давай, Гектор, пожалуйста.
Давай, друг.
Спокійно.
Здумай тільки взривати себе. Поняв?
Ой. Іди звідси.
Гектор, давай.
Боже, я йду.
Брат, не дадуть мене пройти. Брат. Не тут постояли.
Wow.
So Chicago radios in and says, "Is anybody still alive?"
Nobody's answering.
Nobody's answering. But then it says that the guy with the GoPro survived. But it kind of hints that his other guys didn't make it.
That was really fucking intense.
Yep. And the last one, it has some revealing stuff in it. The third one, let's just do the first 35 seconds to about 140. Shows them entering the trench and shows all the mud and bodies in the trench.
Let me cue it up.
Now this is on YouTube. All this graphic stuff is on YouTube. So for some reason YouTube doesn't take this down because it's Ukrainian.
Right. Right.
There's a lot of blood and gore in these films.
Well, so even if we didn't see it, it was clearly implied in that last video. Like you could just fill in the blanks.
Yeah, they didn't make it.
All right, here we go.
Okay, go 35 seconds. Now look at this trench. Look how muddy this trench is. Of course, we got the overhead drone footage on this stuff too. Look at that mud.
Давайте, рассосались, дистанция!
Dead body.
They're Russian?
Maybe.
Я пошел. Еще двое. Еще двое.
Okay, go to 19 minutes.
Беги, сука! Беги, блядь! Нормально. Контузило? Раптор, давай одупляйся. Контузило? Не так же ебал, как у тебя. Давай. Стой, где я? Ой. Давай, братан, одупляемся. Man, we have orders. Our guys take down too. We have orders to go and storm. So, man, we can call where your guys?
Радио не работает или тут не коннекция?
Okay, guy. We say our commanders, so you have problems, and they try to speak or contact with your guys. Don't worry, our guys on front line now. No, you know. So you're not alone here. So I don't know how to help because we need to go.
Great.
He's talking to American.
That dude was an American.
He wasn't an American, but that's a Ukrainian, but he's speaking English to Americans up the way.
Right. Okay.
Hold можешь ли ты связаться с Вероной и сказать ей, чтобы они связались с американцами, потому что им нужна помощь в эвакуации? Как принял?
Принял. Верона, браво.
На связи.
Американцам нужна помощь в эвакуации.
Сейчас приедет наша коробка и их заберет.
Плюс принял. Скелет, ебать. Знаешь, одни ребра остались. О, аспиринчик. Ты? А куда ты идешь?
Мы с тобой, да? Мы с тобой. Там есть укрытие?
Давай, получше, чем тут открытая позиция, кипиш. Давай, братан. Братан, с какой... О! Братан, куда первый зов пошел?
Я не знаю, я поранений. Ми за пораненими прийшли.
Там американцы раненые, их не достать нормально.
Там двое тяжелых, один легкий.
Ой, ви їх не притягнули сюди?
Да ты что, гонишь?
Мы бинтовали их.
Коловрат, нужна связь. Там где-то наш 300. Его нужно найти. Если связываешься с осликами нет, отправь одного, пусть он его в районе точки осликов найдет и отведет к точке эвака.
Принял. Аспирин Коловрату.
На зв'язку.
Там в зоне 3, в зоне выгрузки наш 300-й. Отправь Минотавра найти его, его машина ждет.
Коловрат, тут пиздец сейчас нахуй. Мы потихоньку только сможем идти очень медленно.
Плюс, двигайтесь потихоньку.
Плюс.
Понемногу, да. Да, не сидим, идем потихоньку.
Мирон направо.
Давай, Раптор.
Что?
Давай туда.
Я за тобой. Надо контролить, вот они уже в этой посадке. Давай чуть-чуть.
О, братан,
Давай,
первый
сюда.
взвод.
Правда, потихоньку. Давай. Вперед. Там есть хорошая, большая?
Сука. Ногу подвернул, блядь. Нормально упал.
Сука, ты это. Всем весом, блядь, на ногу. Ну что ж ты так? Сейчас, пацаны. Ай, блядь.
Фу, ебать, тоже ногу приземлился. Давай, не теряем контакт с ними, погнали. Тут проходили ребята с синими повязками?
Да, у них уже такие проходили, что капец.
Проходило много, да?
Да.
Пару часов назад.
Да.
Все, плюс.
Группа зашла. Третий штурмовой.
Ну, наша. Все. Туда они пошли, да? Все. Ой, блядь, сука. Нагружены, что пиздец.
So they demarcate themselves as Ukrainians with like yellow duct tape.
Yeah, are blue, sometimes green. So the third assault brigade is blue. So when you see yellow, you're running into another unit.
So what happens here? Do these guys get out of this?
We'll keep going. We got a few more minutes. You'll see.
Okay.
Because I want to. They finally run into the American, at least one American.
Да, они туда и пошли. Быстрее! Где пидоры?
Да, я тут.
справа.
Плюс эвакуировать. Да. Да, плюс, хорошо.
Прямо пройдите, там завалило блиндаж, они его не перетащат.
Да, мы идем.
Карта. Не простреливать.
There he is.
Собирайте, мужики.
Давай. Давай.
That guy's the American.
Right.
Давай. Не отсохну. Не угасай, ты горишь как огонь. Давайте.
Скажи, что кипиш пришел.
Давай. Не могу встать. Подними меня. Оп. О, правильно, помогай. О, слава Украине.
Отлично. Супер.
Чуть посложнее.
У него тяжелое ранение, он руками помогает.
Да.
А этот, блядь,
Да.
Now watch this. This is the Russians coming in behind them.
По дороге, пидоры! Там в окопе, пидоры, аккуратно. Плюс, плюс. По
Not
дороге
good.
перебежал в окоп. Да, через дорогу есть траншея. Там, пидоры, они будут планировать перебежать дорогу. Пусть тынкуют.
That's it.
Wow, that's some compelling stuff, man. That is totally compelling. I mean,
So they get up there on that hill. They get up there on that hill. They get the wounded guy. One wounded guy. There's some more. Then they find out that the Russians are coming in behind them on the trench. And how are they going to get out of there? I mean, where would they go? They'd have to kind of stay up there.
Yeah, they do until they get some kind of reinforcement. Wow. You know, it reminds me of when back in the old days, like in Vietnam, they had war correspondents. You'd get up on the front lines and you'd see some of that stuff. We haven't seen anything like that in any of these wars.
No.
Like, you know, we didn't see anything from Afghanistan and, you know.
Not even Gaza, really, other than some of the Palestinian stuff.
No,
so mostly they just show their sniper and ambushes. That's about it.
Yeah,
they don't really fill in the detail like this does. The tactical situation.
It also humanizes the whole thing too, right? Yeah. I mean, we just sit back here, we hear about what's going on, and we make these pictures up in our brains, who the good guys are, and who the bad guys are, and it's all this very sterile kind of theater in our minds. And when you see something like that, completely humanizes the whole thing.
Yeah, you can hear them breathe. You can hear their shortness of breath, dragging themselves in the mud, walking by the corpses up there.
Right, and the chaos, the guy jumping on his leg, like kind of the unplanned chaos. Like he jumps on his leg and makes it harder for him to get out of the damn trench. Right. I mean, that's some of the most compelling stuff I've seen.
You know? Yeah, I kind of thought that'd be interesting to show, bring some.
Well, it makes it real. I mean, it makes it real. So, wow. Well, thanks for bringing that. I mean, I'm grateful that you brought it to the table because you know it certainly.
What's the chat? What's the chat saying about this? Anything?
Let's see. What do we got here? France says the wounded American, no blood. Can he have broken bones? Fran is a retired nurse, by the way.
He's got a lot of mud on him, so I don't know. He's really muddy.
Yeah.
Can the mud just sort of stop the bleeding?
So hanging laundry. This goes all the way back to World War I and World War II. Good men deliberately taken out of the gene pool. I agree.
Absolutely. Really good statement on both sides.
That's right. Yep. What else we have here? They can't leave the American. No, that's true. What else do we have?
Well, if the American gets captured, they've got some liability with that.
Well, that's what Maria, I think, is bringing up here.
Yeah.
This is an interesting comment right here. It says, if I can fire it. Uh-oh, we're frozen. We're totally this thing froze up on me.
You want to go on to Caitlin Clark? Look at a little bit of her.
Yeah, let me. Sometimes my image will unfreeze.
Now I sent you a video showing her in action, showing her playing.
Yeah,
the last DM.
Yeah, I'm. All right, so let me see if I can reload this. Here we go. Come on. Try one more time. Okay. All right. Hang on. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. All right, there we go. I'm back. All right, seems like at least once a show that I have to go through something like that. All right, hold on. Hold on. Now I'm stuck in the. All right, so we're going to make a kind of a hard segue. We're going to talk about Caitlin Clark here. And I brought Caitlin Clark up on my Twitter feed about what a disruptor she is. And so people that aren't familiar with Caitlin Clark, she's probably the best women's basketball player that's ever played the game. And she's setting all these records for scoring. And she's become this really polarizing figure in sports in a lot of ways. And again, for people that aren't aware, Russ's father is the great Tex winner who is the architect of the triangle offense and won numerous championship rings in the NBA with the Chicago Bulls and the Los Angeles Lakers. So Russ knows a little bit about what he's talking about.
And I think Iowa, who's has I forget her name. My dad actually worked with her. My dad took an interest in women's basketball. Not so much equal rights for women's basketball because he thought they were a little bit of a distraction from his program. But in time, eventually kind of warmed up to some of the coaches that were involved, including this lady at Iowa. I think this longtime coach, so you can see Iowa running the triangle a little bit.
So I just did a little intro to Caitlin Clark. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, that's fine. I just kind of want to show everybody how she plays, so I have some highlights.
Okay, so here we go. Let's throw this out here, and she's about to break Pete Maravich's record for most points scored in college.
Very good playmaker, terrific shooter.
Iowa loves to play fast. Gets into the paint, the lefty lay, and it's in the steal. And now Clark running the fast break. Gets it to Kay Martin. Another layup falls. She does. Stokey's going to kick it out to Clark from deep. Knocks it down. Caitlin.
Look at the range on that. Jesus.
Checks in for Goodman. Deep three from Clark. And
you can apply. But, it's still game time. Obviously, it's 62-27. Adding it on right there.
Almost gets that one to fall. That did everything but go through.
That would have been good if that one came in.
Nice
There's
pass.
Salky right there.
I like her passing.
Scoring and assists.
Yeah.
Clark hits the. It's so good. It's deadly. And it's really hard to close the space. Gets a switch and a double.
Look at that pass.
Rewards
Nice pass.
Now the two teams just looking to score a little bit. A slow start for both sides is Clark.
Goodman in space as much as they can, even if it's against their five. Grace Paffelli.
season. We're under 5 to play before half. Great set by the Hawkeyes. That was some false moments. Have had a couple players with 2 fouls that have been getting a lot of bench time as well. Under a minute to go.
Pass again.
The feed and
that's triangle.
double team
triangle
comes,
there.
spins away. There's the knife. Terrific. It's going to be a fun season to watch her add to the. Yeah, she's not shying away from these bright lights.
Whoa.
That drift. Can't over penetrate and try to attack Ayoka Lee. And that's a tough. It's getting from one side to the other. Now it's catch and hold. Clark, long two. She's got it. Off glass. K-State shooting 30%. Here is Clark. Yes. Better ball pressure. Make that pass a little bit more difficult. It's kind of like big.
Oh my God.
Iowa City, Drake, and Iowa off and rolling with the.
You know what's interesting about her is she's putting butts in the stands.
Yeah.
In these women's college basketball games.
Yep. Throwing it up.
And obviously she's going to play in the WNBA. And nobody watches the WNBA. I mean, if the NBA didn't compensate for them, right, and their lack of attendance, they'd be done. They're kind of like the Netflix of sports, right, or the Tesla of sports. But when she goes into the WNBA, people are going to go see her play.
Yeah, it's going to be a little more competition for her there, probably more physical.
But she's also getting a lot of hate too, right?
How so? What's the story on that?
Well, Cheryl Swoops, whose record she broke for scoring, went on, I think it might have been the show with Gil Arenas or something like that. And she got all the facts wrong about Caitlin Clark and said, well, she's 24 years old, and she's not 24 years old. That she said that she did it in 4 years. Well, that's not true. She did it in 3 years. So she was denigrating her achievements and not even getting her facts straight. So there is, and I hate to bring race into this, right? But it's starting to enter into it. And because Caitlin Clark happens to be white, right?
And a Midwest, sort of a Midwest white girl from Iowa. She's playing close to her hometown.
That's starting to come into the dialogue now.
That's too bad.
And it's unfortunate, right? I mean, we can't we just get past that? Hey, you're a good player. You're a good player. But I guess that's not the case. And last year it came down to Iowa and LSU and Angel Reese and I guess LSU won. And there's a good chance Iowa will be back in the championship game with this person. Again, I'm using a kind of a racial analogy. She reminds me of Larry Bird.
Mm-hmm.
She's got a little bit of Larry Bird's game in her. And she's made here's the other thing, right? I can't even tell you one male college basketball player. I can't. But I can tell you Caitlin Clark, I know her name, and I was a hoops nerd. I used to follow college basketball, and it was not uncommon for, these guys to stand out, right? Like you remember the old DePaul teams, right? Mark Aguirre, Terry Cummings, guys like that. It was easy. I couldn't name you one college basketball player.
Yeah, I don't think I can either. I mean, I know who she is.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, it's probably good for women's basketball. That's all I got to say. It's not that complicated.
No, it's not that complicated, but it also speaks to, in some ways, how far men's basketball has fallen in the college game. That there's just nobody that has any kind of, I don't know, cachet or any resonance, and that's not how it used to be. Well, thanks for bringing that on, Russ, and kind of ending the show with a little bit of That cleansed our palate somewhat after being.
Yeah, we stuck it in. We stuck it in at the back end of the show where people can quickly check out if they want.
Yeah,
not run into a hailstorm like we did starting at the beginning.
Right,
That one
last man. That was rough.
So it's like a warning. We might sneak in some sports once in a while.
The thing that I wanted to ask you about that is because I said I wanted to ask you a little bit about sports at the end, and you had brought the Caitlin Clark stuff up, and I was like, oh yeah, we can talk about that. But the thing that I wanted to ask you about is there's a lot of Kobe Bryant stuff that's starting to surface, and some of it is kind of esoteric and occult, and I don't want to get into that territory, but you knew Kobe Bryant because your dad coached Kobe.
I didn't know him personally, but my dad certainly did, and my dad had very high opinion of him. Very high opinion.
That's what I want. I wanted to ask you what your father take in relationship with Kobe was like.
He was very respectful. He had a tremendous desire to develop his skills as a player. He knew that certain coaches could be useful and valuable to him. He spent a lot of film time with my dad. The story about, the thing about these pro athletes, a lot of them are dogs, they're hanging around women all the time. And of course, Kobe had some problems on that front. And my dad couldn't believe it because he was saying, the guy's he never sees him with groupies, never saw him with groupies, always sort of serious, up watching films a lot of the time with him. He would eat with him a lot of times. My dad would also eat with, hang out with, going blank, the kind of the crazy Chicago Bulls, the Rodman.
Dennis Rodman.
My dad was pretty tight with Rodman too, for the same reasons, because Rodman was coachable and respectful. Hard to believe.
Well, Rodman and Kobe were maniacal too. They had that kind of maniacal quality to them. But Rodman was such a freak athlete. He was incredible athletically. Well, thanks for sharing that, because there's a lot of stuff coming up around Kobe and Kobe symbolism and then the death of Kobe. And I just wanted to get kind of a more personal kind of.
Yeah, I have no idea. What exactly is he? Give me some hints.
We could do a whole show on it. We don't want to go there. I just
are they trashing him?
I wouldn't say trashing him, but that there's this there's a lot of symbolism around these players, their tattoos, their death, the time of their death, right? There's kind of this whole meta world that goes along with a lot of these athletes. And Kobe has been kind of mythologized in this sort of occult way.
Well, if you listen to Kobe speak, if you listen to him on interviews, he's very articulate, sharp.
Oh, he was bright. Kobe was really bright.
You didn't get any ghetto talk. You didn't get much slang. He was just kind of a cool guy.
Spoke fluent Italian as well.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting.
Because he grew up in Italy.
Yeah. Well, Russ, this has been another great show. Thanks for being here as always. And I hope you get some swim time in. And I'll see you on Twitter, and we'll see you in a month. All right.
All right, guys. See you later. Bye.
The great Russ Winter from winterwatch.net joining us here for another Friday edition on the first of every month. And go check out his website. Fresh content almost daily. I mean, the guy puts the work in, and it's always great to have him here. We'll be back on Sunday night with Sunday Night Astro Live, a return to the skies and what's happening up there and in there. And is there anything else? Check out our friend Chris over at True Hemp Science. And if you spend $100 or more and type in 15MINS when you check out, you will get a free goodie bag. And that's always a nice treat to have with your order. Comes in, it kind of like boosts your order a little bit. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, Oh, what else? Anything else? I'm going to be, I did an interview yesterday with James Bartley on the Cosmic Switchboard. And I think that's going to air relatively soon. And I really like James. And I thought it was a good interview. And I think we're going to do a pre-record maybe this Monday. And we'll run that next week with James as a guest on my show. And James is really immersed in the extraterrestrial UFO, close encounters of the third kind, right? Like this guy has been deeply immersed in this world for a very long time. It's not a topic I cover very much. It's something I had a lot of interest in at a certain time in my life. I've seen UFOs. I had a weird kind of missing time experience. And so we're going to go into this, and James is going to be our Sherpa. He's going to take us into a 2-hour deep dive on the state of extraterrestrial and extra dimensional news and topography. So that'll be next week, and that'll be a good show. You'll love James if you haven't seen him. All right. Thanks, everybody. Chataria, you're the best. And thank you for all your support around the passing of my mother. It's been very heartwarming to get your texts and your notifications. And she really enjoyed hanging out with you guys in October. I think it was one of the highlights of the past few years for you, to be honest with you. And you made that happen. All right. So we'll see you guys on Sunday night. Take care. Bye for now.